The first words froze him before he could even take another step. The cafeteria buzzed with the ordinary sounds of children laughing, trays clattering, and teachers calling students back to their seats. But through all the noise, one sentence cut straight through his heart like a blade. A little voice whispered, almost too quietly to hear, "That's the girl whose dad only got rich because people felt sorry for him." For a single moment, time stopped. Marcus Ellison, one of the youngest black CEOs in the country, stood motionless in the doorway of his daughter's school cafeteria, feeling something no boardroom battle or billion-dollar negotiation had ever made him feel. His success had protected his family from many hardships, but it could not protect his little girl from cruel assumptions. Before we continue, if you believe kindness can change lives and everyone deserves a second chance, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that need them the most. Marcus had spent 25 years building his life one impossible step at a time. Raised in a neighborhood where abandoned buildings outnumbered opportunities, he learned early that the world often judged people before they even opened their mouths. His mother worked double shifts cleaning offices, while his father drove a city bus until illness forced him into early retirement. Every achievement Marcus earned came wrapped in doubt from people who believed someone like him could never reach the top without luck or special treatment. He ignored the whispers through college, through the endless nights of building his technology company, from a tiny rented apartment, through meetings where investors looked past him to his white assistant, assuming she must be the CEO. Every insult became another reason to work harder. Every closed door became another challenge to overcome. Years later, when his company employed thousands of people and transformed entire communities through scholarships and job programs, he believed he had finally outrun the prejudice that once followed him everywhere. The only dream that mattered more than building his company was giving his daughter Ava the childhood he never had. She was 9 years old, brilliant, endlessly curious, and convinced her father could fix anything. Marcus attended every school play, every science fair, every soccer game, even when it meant flying overnight from another state after a business conference. He wanted Ava to know that no promotion or paycheck would ever matter more than being her father. That morning, he had decided to surprise her by joining the school's family lunch day. He wore a simple sweater instead of one of his tailored business suits because he wanted to blend in, not attract attention. He carried her favorite homemade cookies, smiling as he imagined the excitement on her face. Instead, he found her sitting alone at the edge of a crowded table. Children surrounded every other seat, yet an empty space remained beside her, as though an invisible wall kept everyone away. She smiled politely while pretending to read a book, but Marcus recognized the sadness hiding behind her eyes. Then, he heard the whispers spreading from table to table. Some children repeated things they had overheard from adults. Others invented stories of their own. They questioned whether Marcus truly deserved his success. They assumed wealth, erased struggle. Worst of all, they made Ava feel responsible for defending accomplishments she had nothing to do with. Marcus wanted to march across the cafeteria and correct every lie. He wanted to remind those children that words carried consequences, but years of leadership had taught him that anger rarely changed hearts. He watched the teachers, who seemed unaware of what was happening because the comments were spoken softly enough to avoid attention. The easy choice would have been to complain to the principal, demand punishment, and leave. Yet Marcus knew fear could silence cruelty for a day, while kindness had the power to transform it forever. He quietly sat beside Ava, smiling warmly as though nothing unusual had happened. She leaned into him for just a second, before sitting up straight again, trying to appear strong. Marcus noticed how tightly she held her lunch tray, her small hands trembling ever so slightly. It broke his heart because she reminded him of himself as a child, pretending insults did not hurt while carrying them home every afternoon. He realized that success had changed his address, but not the challenges waiting for the next generation. Over the following week, Marcus met privately with the principal and teachers, not to assign blame, but to offer support. Together, they created an event celebrating every student's family story. Parents from different backgrounds were invited to share the journeys that shaped their lives. Doctors spoke about growing up in poverty. Firefighters described overcoming disabilities. Immigrant families shared the sacrifices that brought them to a new country. Artists explained years of rejection before finding success. Marcus volunteered to speak last, not as a famous executive, but as a son who watched his exhausted mother come home every night with sore feet and tired eyes. When the day arrived, the auditorium filled with students expecting another ordinary assembly. Marcus stepped onto the stage carrying an old pair of worn work gloves that had belonged to his mother. Instead of showing photographs of expensive offices or impressive awards, he held up those faded gloves. He explained that they represented thousands of hours spent cleaning buildings, owned by people who never learned her name. He spoke about studying under flickering streetlights because the electricity had been disconnected. He described eating the same inexpensive meals for weeks, so tuition bills could be paid. He admitted there were moments he almost gave up, because believing in himself became exhausting when so few others did. The room grew completely silent. Students who had once repeated careless rumors suddenly saw a human being instead of a title. They understood that wealth did not erase pain, and success did not erase sacrifice. Marcus ended by saying the greatest achievement of his life was not building a company worth millions, but raising a daughter who remained kind even after experiencing unkindness. As he looked toward Ava sitting in the front row, tears filled both of their eyes. Something remarkable happened after that assembly. The children who had ignored Ava slowly began sitting beside her during lunch. One boy admitted he had repeated something he heard at home without thinking about how much it could hurt. A girl invited Ava to join her science project because she realized they shared the same love of astronomy. Teachers introduced monthly kindness circles where students discussed empathy, respect, and the impact of assumptions. The cafeteria that once felt lonely gradually became a place where every child searched for someone sitting alone before choosing a seat. Marcus discovered that leadership was not only about inspiring employees or pleasing shareholders. Sometimes leadership meant choosing compassion when pride demanded revenge. He learned that changing one school could create ripples extending far beyond its walls. Parents started having deeper conversations with their children about prejudice and respect. The school district introduced similar storytelling programs across other campuses. One simple decision to respond with grace instead of anger became the beginning of something far greater than Marcus ever imagined. Years later, Ava would remember that difficult season not because of the hurtful words, but because of what her father taught her afterward. She learned that people often judge what they do not understand. She learned that dignity grows stronger when rooted in humility. Most importantly, she learned that kindness is never weakness. It is courage wearing a gentle face. If this story has touched your heart so far, please write, "Kindness always wins" in the comments below. Your words may encourage someone reading them today who feels alone or misunderstood. As Ava walked through those same cafeteria doors months later, she no longer searched for an empty table. Friends waved her over from every direction. Marcus watched from the hallway with quiet gratitude, realizing the cruel sentence that once stopped him in his tracks had unexpectedly become the beginning of healing for an entire community. Sometimes, the loudest victories are not celebrated with applause or trophies. Sometimes they are found in a child's genuine smile, in strangers choosing understanding over judgment, and in hearts willing to change. If this story moved you, inspired you, or reminded you that compassion can rewrite someone's future, please like this video. Leave a heartfelt comment, share it with your family and friends, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Together, we can continue spreading stories that remind the world kindness is stronger than hate, empathy is louder than prejudice, and hope always has the final word. Because in the end, people may remember the success Marcus achieved. But what truly changed lives was the love, grace, and humility he chose to carry into a school cafeteria on one unforgettable afternoon.